Hi, how's it going? Today I'm talking about morality and alignments again. Just a fun little thing to talk about. Um, Want to make note, all these are opinions. You're fair to have a different one. These are just what I think about the characters after playing all the games and all that and just having some fun with it. In case you don't know about this whole situation over here, evil, good, pretty obvious. If they're evil, they're evil. They're good, they're good. Lawful is basically they follow some kind of code or they have some structure to what they do. And then chaotic is just. So today, Borderlands is the topic. I saw that the movie, it's either coming out or something pretty soon, but I just saw like a trailer and I was like, oh, I like that game series. Might as well talk about it a little bit for the fun of it. Yeah, so today I just picked some random Borderlands characters to talk about. First on our list is Roland. Roland. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like his personality felt very like this was just a good old guy. He didn't really feel like there was like a ton of depth going on there. It was kind of just, what you see is what you get. I don't think he's like the epitome of like lawful or good. I mean, he does kill people, and I wouldn't say he's like a saint or anything, but he's at least trying to help people when he can, and I think that's a major point of the whole like Crimson Raider thing and everything. Like, so I would say he's a good guy, and as far as like lawful goes, I mean, I would say he leans a little more toward good than he does lawful sometimes. Because like he's willing to like just pick up stuff, and he's not necessarily always the kind of guy that's going to talk before he shoots. So I'm kind of leaning toward more good than lawful, but I think with his people he's very lawful. He's also like, a very good person to the people that he actually knows and interacts with, willing to do whatever he can to support them and everything. So I mean I'm leaning toward pretty lawful and a little more good. He's a good guy. Next on the list, Lilith. Lilith. Well, I think that Lilith is one of the characters that you kind of see like a progression. In the original game, I feel like you don't really get that much to do with her. So I mean, like originally, I'd probably place her just somewhere in the middle. You don't really know. It's kind of like how you play is kind of akin to how she turns out. And I would say later on, because of the influence of Roland and helping and all that, I would say she kind of like turns it up a little bit toward Roland. I don't know if I would say she's as lawful as he is at times. Like, I feel like she's a little more willing to, break rules if she needs to do something and get it done. So I'd put her like a similar level of, how good she is later on. I think she kind of reaches a similar point as Roland. I just wouldn't tune her up as much in the lawful category because I think she's a little more willing to break some rules. I think, there are cases and arguments to say that she's a little more evil because she is kind of, in the start of Borderlands 2, I think she's supposed to be considered like a bandit and all that. But I don't necessarily think like her true nature is like a terrible person or anything. I also wouldn't really say she's chaotic because I mean there's some order and structure to it. She's just not like strictly abiding by some sort of code, I think, all the time. Handsome Jack. Handsome Jack is interesting. See, now this is where interpretations, I think, come in. Because if you ask Handsome Jack, he's, like, there. He is the epitome of lawfully good. He is there to help everyone and do everything that needs to be done. But if we're, not asking Handsome Jack and we ourselves are considering, I think he has a code to him. I think sometimes you can like look at his actions and think there's not really much thought behind them or whatever. but I think he has, like, in his head, at least, some sort of, like, okay, yes, I am the good guy, these are the bad guys, I need to do what it needs to be done to beat the bad guys. So I think he actually does have, like, a code to a degree. Now, if we're considering evil, like, he's very, like, emotionally, like, damaged and mentally just off his rocker, right? So you could probably put him toward this evil side, and I think it's entirely fair. I think if you look at the pre-sequel, he's probably, like, maybe a little more here, where he's, like, not a good guy, but, like, not, like, pure evil, and he's also, like, kind of following at least some sort of code. I think Borderlands, like, 2 and such, I would lean him up a little bit, kind of like a linear progression here, where he goes from, like, middle of the road to, like, really goddamn evil, but he's also kind of sticking to a code more, almost, I think, to make himself, like, feel better and things like that. I'm not saying it's a good code, but I do think it's, like, he's at least trying to, like, stick to some belief system that he has in his head, which, I mean, makes him an interesting character, right? Now, next up, Claptrap. Claptrap. I... Claptrap's weird. You know, if we're talking lawful versus chaotic... Probably chaotic. He's definitely a little wacky, but I don't think he's, like, completely unpredictable. And you could kind of, like, see that he has some, like, thought processes and whatnot that get him to do specific things. Like, he's not just pure insanity. I'm leaning toward actually middle of the road here. I don't know. I don't really think he's, like, evil, and I don't really think he's necessarily good. Because, I mean, like, throughout the series, we often see that he's kind of, like... everything he does is basically just to help himself out. But he's not necessarily against doing good actions if people, like, want to help him. And when he does do good actions, it's normally, like, kind of, like, jokingly he wants you to do something for him or whatever. So, I mean, like, I'm kind of leading toward him being down the road, like, neutral in terms of evil versus good, where he's just kind of like, he's around, and he'll help you when he can, I guess, if you're, like, a friend of his, but he's not necessarily going to go out of his way to do things to help people or hurt people. He's just kind of around. You know, it goes all over the place depending on the situation, which is why I would put him in chaotic, but I don't necessarily think he has done enough evil or enough good to make me want to lean one way or the other. So I think I'm going to put him here, where he's, like, pretty much in the middle of good and evil, but a little toward that chaotic side. Tiny Tina. Well, probably here. I don't think that's, like, a big shock. But instead of, like, you know, staying in that spot like Claptrap, I'm going to lean her toward a pretty good... Like, I'm not going to say she's like, a saint, like, all the way over here, but I'm going to say a good chaotic. Where, like, you know, you don't know how she's going to get something done. Like, her actions are all kind of, like, strange and over the top. But I think she has a good heart, right? She respects Roland and, you know, almost thinks of him as, like, a father figure and all that. And, you know, I think she wants to do the good thing when she can do the good thing. So I would lean her toward, you know, the good side of chaotic, where she's not, like, you know, she's not going to do whatever she wants, but you can at least you can kind of boil down her actions to being good in theory. Even if, like, sometimes, you know, something might go wrong and it might not be perfect, she's still trying to be a good person, like Roland, but she's a little less predictable and ordered as Roland is. You know, she'll just go off the walls a little bit here and there. Now I like to throw in a little curveball at the end, so let's talk about Face McShooty. Um, where would I put you? You know, we have to lean toward chaotic. He is a psycho, so probably leaning this way. But we don't necessarily see him hurting other people, right? He just wants to get shot himself. But it can be safely assumed that as a psycho, he is probably... Because I think they were all criminals and whatnot before that, so it's safe to assume he's probably not probably not on the good side, and it might not even be fair to put him in neutral. So I would say leaning toward the evil side, and then probably, considering he wants to get shot in the face, I'm gonna put him toward pure chaos because that's insane and illogical in enough ways where I feel like he's deserving of that. Alright, well, that was my fun little list. Little Jackson Pollock paintings coming together here. If you have other characters from the series you want me to throw into this little image, let me know. Yeah, I'll see ya.